Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for the Walking Dead countdown to the start of Season 6. I'm sorry that I haven't made a video for the last week. Part of the reason for that is because it's final weeks here at my grad school, so I have been very busy studying for finals day and night. Finals week is almost over though, so once my finals are completed, then I will be making more videos at a more steady pace, I do promise. But somebody asked me if I could make some more videos, so I will. And I promised one Z Nation video and one Walking Dead video. So I did the Z Nation video already, and what I'm going to do now is my annual character death predictions video for Rick's group, trying to figure out which characters might be killed off in season 6. And I do apologize if you're having trouble hearing it. I'm trying to keep my voice down a little bit because it is late, and I don't want to wake other people up with this video, but I also wanted to keep up my end of the bargain. If you are not caught up with Walking Dead, or if you don't read the comics, or you do not want to be spoiled in any way, don't watch the video because you probably will be spoiled. Okay, so I looked over all of the characters, and I thought about 6 characters that I think could be killed off. It doesn't mean that all 6 will, and I definitely don't think that they will kill off 6 characters in season 6. Quite frankly, I think we're going to see less deaths this season in regards to Rick's group, rather than more or about the same as season 5. I mean, season 5 was just wow. I mean, we lost Bob, technically Gareth was considered a main cast member. We lost Beth, Tyrese, and I'll even throw Noah in there. You know, we lost a lot of people in season 5, and I don't think it's going to be as many this season. I would not be surprised if well, I think for sure within the first half of season 5, I think at least one person will die. Maybe two, with in my opinion, with the walkers that will invade the Alexandria safe zone. I think that will happen. So if it does, then I think that we will probably lose about one, maybe even two people from Rick's group in that. And then I think that with the second half of season 6, I think we'll lose at least one as well. And the characters that I think are at risk are Gabriel, Carol, Tara, Glenn, Morgan, and Abraham. And I'm going to give my reasons for why each one could be killed off in the upcoming season 6. Doesn't mean they will, and it doesn't mean that their stories are even going to go this way. It's just, predictions based off the comics and based off of the way the story has been going so far on The Walking Dead. So I'm going to start out with Gabriel, and I already made a video about Gabriel separately, so I won't go into too much detail with him. If you do want to watch that one, you definitely can. It's on my channel. But, overall, part of the reason why I think Gabriel could die in season 6 is because really in the comics, his role is very diminished after this point. He does serve a little bit of a role during the invasion of the Walker army into Alexandria, where he does open the door and allows Eugene and Nicholas to take shelter, kind of making up for locking out his congregation members before. But after that, he really just doesn't have a role. He just fades into the background and is there every now and then for a very small purpose. He doesn't really serve anything anymore in the comics. Um, and I just don't think that that's really an option for the TV show. I feel like, if you're really just going to have a character around for just a very limited purpose, I don't see what the point is with keeping them. Now, if they come up with some very good storyline for Gabriel, by all means keep him. I definitely think there's a lot of room to make Gabriel a better character, but I think that it might be more likely that they will kill him off. I think that really Gabriel is in need of some redemption, and I think that the best way to do that would be to have him, sacrifice himself in order to save some other people, just based on the fact that, he does feel guilt for locking out his congregation. And perhaps, the one way that he could make up for that would be to die for somebody else so that somebody else could live. and potentially, have justice for, what he did before. And I think that that is a very good possibility they will do that. I think it's very possible. I also thought he might go the cowardly way out, and I thought that maybe he might be the one that gets eaten by the walkers and might shoot Carl's eye out, or if they don't go that route, he might shoot Carl or somebody else. So I think that that's a possibility as well. Plus, with Seth Gilliam's recent arrest for DUI and drug possession, that may not be a good thing either. Um, I mean, obviously, I don't like to judge and I don't like to, make necessarily some, statements that might, put somebody down or be judgmental, but, sometimes when things like that are happening to somebody, it can lead to bad things on the set, and it could also just be, a risk. I mean, you saw that happen a little bit with Michelle Rodriguez in Lost, where she was having some incidents off the set, getting arrested several times, and I guess some incidents on set. And then, of course, the thing with Charlie Sheen on Two and a Half Men. Sometimes that can put risks on shows because if you don't have the character, you may not be able to move forward with your plan. So if you feel that there's a risk, you may not want to carry on with that character if the person's going to continue to act up. So that might weigh against it. But we'll see what happens. Again, I don't like to judge, and whatever happens, happens. But you can't deny that the show could take a more negative look at that, since that did happen. Tara, I do like Tara. I think that she's a great character. And quite frankly, I would like to see them do more with the character. I think that she did have some good parts in season 5, but she wasn't as used. She wasn't used as frequently as she was in the latter half of season 4. And I kind of want them to use Tara in more of a way like that. I think that would be very, very popular. Because I think that Tara again, she's an excellent character, and the fans love her. I mean, I love her. She's excellent, excellent, excellent. Lana Masterson is a great actress, but what you find is that what the show tends to do at times is kill off characters that really are not in the comics or have an essential role. Because Tara is a character in one of the Governor's novels, but she's not featured in the comics. And we've seen that with Jackie, T-Dog, Beth, Bob, and Noah. All of them not comic book characters, and they've been killed off. And Tara's really not yet at that point where she can be like Daryl popularity, so she doesn't have that to rely on, which could potentially be a downside. Another thing that I thought about, one of the ways that her death could affect the show would be for Eugene. Because when you kill characters off the show, it's usually for different purposes. But sometimes you kill a character off in order to change the way that another character either acts or, feels about the zombie apocalypse, the changes that it might make in them. And we've already seen that, Eugene has displayed cowardly antics. And of course, whenever he was whenever he lied about, having a cure and people died trying to get him to DC. And then, of course, he almost had let Tara die, in the episode Spend. So that's a strike against Eugene for being, courageous. And I don't think that he's yet bridged that ability of being able to be brave. Yeah, he's had some instances where he's, been able to overcome his fears, but he may not be there yet. And I think that there is a chance that the only way that he will become a braver character is if somebody dies, that was real close to him, and maybe it's because he didn't come to their rescue. And I think that that might happen with Tara, because Eugene does become a lot braver in the comics over times, but in the TV show maybe he's not there yet, and they might have Tara die trying to save Eugene, because Tara's really been Eugene's only real friend since, the end of season 5. I mean, yeah, kind of, Abraham and him kind of patched things over, but really, Tara's been the only one that's ever defended him. So I think that her death could have major impacts on Eugene, and I just don't see the show killing Eugene off at any point. But we saw how Tyrese and Bob's death have changed Sasha, and I think that Tara's might be the one that changes Eugene, so we'll see. Morgan is a bit of a toss-up. Um, I think from what I've read and from what I've understood, even though Lenny James said that he will be in at least one episode, I think it's going to be more than that. I think that he was just generalizing, but from what I've read, Rick and Morgan's relationship is going to be a big part of the first half of season 6. And I think that that definitely could be something that, the reason why Morgan is back. His character does die in volume 14 when the walkers do attack. He's bitten on the arm. His arm's amputated, but it either wasn't amputated in time or he bled out, a mixture of both. But part of me thinks about, with Lenny James, is he really going to be available for like several seasons of the show? Because he's more of an actor that does a lot more projects than just this. He's a lot busier and not as committed, just based on, his other career opportunities that he has going on right now. So it may be that he's only there for a limited amount of time. And I feel like right now he's here for a purpose. And I think that his purpose is really to get Rick back more on track to being the character that Rick becomes later in the comics. Because in the comics, Rick, even though he still has a little bit of a savage type of, disposition at times, even though he can be hard, like emotional, that he's not, as caring at times, he can be vicious. Even though he has those moments, he becomes more hopeful later on in the comics, and he becomes a lot more of a sane person. Whereas right now, he's really at about the most unstable that he's ever been. And I feel like Morgan has been through a change, kind of like, and I think that Rick was part of the reason for that in the episode Clear. I think that that was part of the reason why. So I think that there is a very good chance that Morgan will be, the reason why Rick becomes a more hopeful character. Like, I think that Morgan's presence on the show will perhaps change Rick a lot, where he will become a better character, a better person. Morgan was in a dark place and Rick saved him. And I think that, at this point, Rick is in a dark place, and I think that Morgan can save Rick. And I think he will. But after that, is there a role for Morgan? And I don't know if there is. And I think that again, that purpose really is limited, in my opinion. Everybody else might think that maybe he might become something more important in the show, and I would be very happy if they did that. I don't think that there is, somebody who would complain out there if Morgan became a character for many seasons. We love Morgan. He is a big fan following. I mean, he is excellent, and Lenny James portrays him very well. He's one of the few characters that is left alive that was here at the beginning of the show. One of 6. There's only been 6 characters that are alive since season 1, and that is Rick, Morgan, Carol, Daryl, Glenn, and Carl. Nobody else. And I think that we like to go back to those days, and the fact that he's still here means a lot. But I could see, his purpose being to bring Rick back. And again, part of the reason why you kill characters off is because it affects the other characters. And I think that if Morgan tries to instill, these better beliefs in Rick, some of these beliefs that he forms later on, like Morgan's belief of every life being precious. Rick kind of incorporates that later on in the comics after the whole Savior storyline, where they don't kill people anymore, that they do have a jail, that they become a lot more civilized, and that is something that he adopts in the comics. And I think that if Morgan has that kind of disposition, it could change Rick and make him into a more hopeful character that will allow him to become the person that he becomes later in the show and in the comics. So I think that that could be Morgan's purpose and why he's back. But I could definitely see a situation where the wolves do get a hold of him and kill him. I think that is a very good possibility. You know, sometimes it is a risk to leave people alive in the Walking Dead world. Sometimes you don't want to do that. You know, I mean, leaving Shane alive after he tried to kill Rick twice probably would have been a dumb thing to do. But you know, people have different reasons for doing everything, and sometimes the consequences of your action can go either way. You know, if Rick would have killed Andrew, Lori and T Dog probably wouldn't have died. You know, if they would have killed the governor earlier, governor never would have came back and done what he did. You know, there was a lot of opportunities for things to go different, and because they didn't, it resulted in some people dying. And that could definitely happen here too, you know, where Morgan's decision not to kill those wolves may lead to his death later on. Could be, but I do think that Morgan's role is a little bit limited, and I don't think that he's going to survive season 6. But if I'm wrong, I'm fine with that because I would love to have Lenny James on the show. I see that this video is running a little late, so I'm going to turn this into a two-part video, so stay tuned for the second half.